Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe, and you're checking out Weekend at Gabe's, and thanks for checking out this latest episode. While you're here, also follow us on these social medias at Weekend Gabe, at Weekend at Gabe's, and also at The Real Sam Crane. Thanks for checking us out.
Give us a follow on these social medias at Weekend Gabe, at Weekend at Gabe's, and also at The Real Sam Crane. I'm Weekend Gabe. To my right is The Real Sam Crane with the toasty AC. He has the expensive AC going on. And we're just hanging out tonight. But joining us now, friend of the show, who I absolutely love, Mr. Eugene McIntosh. He joins us from the South Side, I believe, right?
Yeah, I may cover the North Side baseball team, brother, but it's South Side enough.
There you go. 2 words, South Side worldwide. That's all you need to know. Every day. Let them know.
What's up with you brothers, man?
I'm good, man. I'm so glad you could join us, man. We appreciate it. It's a long time, man. This is an exciting baseball, obviously, is very exciting here in the city of Chicago. Both teams are sitting in first place in their respective divisions, so it's good for everyone. And, of course, your Cubs, who weren't expected to compete this year, are doing the absolute opposite. And briefly, can you explain to the public who aren't following, why are the Cubs overachieving in 2021?
Well, personally, Gabe, I don't think the Cubs are overachieving.
I agree. Thank you.
Man, bro, that's why I don't listen to Pacoda. That's why I don't listen to these so-called baseball experts, some of them who I'm in the press box with. I don't pay those guys any attention. Come on, man. The bulk, not the bulk, but the mainstays on the team are still guys with championship rings, bro. Anytime you got Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, Contreras, that 4 is as good as any 4 in baseball when they're at the top of their game. I think what people weren't expecting was the job that the starting pitching is doing, and I felt like they were being overlooked because if you look at it, that's not the status quo of Major League Baseball anymore. All the starting pitchers is all about velo. It's all about everything else. So I felt like that would be an advantage that the Cubs had, being that they weren't what everybody was going to face night in and night out. Now, you do have Jake, who's coming off an injury, who's basically just, he's getting this, I would call it a farewell. I mean, I think he still has a couple years left if he can stay healthy, but it was only right to bring him back to Chicago. I mean, we know about Zach Davies. We faced him plenty of years in Milwaukee, so he's finally coming into form. We know Kyle Hendricks has been one of the top 10 to 15 pitchers in baseball the last 3 years.
Correct.
On the back end, we're finally getting to see Abbott, what he did the other night against, was it San Francisco or was it San Diego? Was that San Diego?
San Diego, yeah. I believe, yeah.
Yeah, with the blister. So that wasn't the guy we've seen the last 8, 9, 10 times out, but he's beginning to be the guy that the Cubs expected him to be. It was just that it's later on. It's like the Trevor Williams and Jake are the hit and misses. They'll have a good game, they'll have a bad game. So I kind of expected that. But overall, like I said, when you got those 4 guys we named earlier, and you still got Jay Hay, and then now you got to give credit to the, AAA. Got to give credit to those guys down there.
Patrick Wisdom hit a home run the other night when we were at the game.
Man. Hot as fish grease. You got to give credit to those guys for coming up. Bodie, Duffy, Nico, Jay Hay, Marisnik, all these guys go down, and then we get these guys who people have never heard of, and they get their shot, and they feel right on, they fill in seamlessly. So, and even the bullpen, you look at Ryan Tepera and Craig Kimbrell, who I feel like are the MVPs of the bullpen, but then you got Rex Brothers, you got all the new guys, Keegan Thompson, Tommy Nance, what's my other guy down there? It's another guy I can't think of. But when I just want to you got to give David Ross props. You got to give the guys in AAA props for keeping these guys ready. But give them the most props for getting their chances and showing improvement. So it's gonna be a tough decision for Rossi when everybody's back healthy to see who stays and who goes, man.
Oh, fantastic. We were talking in the last segment about vaccinations and how the Cubs are one of the lower percentage of vaccinated players in the league.
We all know how Jake Arrieta feels about this topic.
There's quite a few, actually. I know that this has been something that David Ross has addressed, and he's trying to do a bit of a balancing act of respecting personal choice, but also I think he's also trying to lift that MLB veil of having more flexibility and access that allows without the restrictions of what being under the 85% threshold. What are you? Is this a conversation that's still ongoing inside the clubhouse, around the ballpark with the writers, or is this something that eventually will fade away because winning cures all?
That's interesting that you say that, man. But I mean, it is an ongoing conversation. We talked to Jed a couple weeks ago, and he was visibly upset that the team hasn't gotten to that 85%. And I mean, at the end of the day, these are grown men. You can't force anybody to do anything. But it's just weird because they talk about having a competitive advantage. And you should, like you said, we hear what Jake is.
I don't even need to hear him in a press conference explain his point of view. Like, I know how that motherfucker feels. Like,
exactly. and I'm pretty sure there are a couple other guys on the team that feel that way too. They just aren't as front and center as Jake. So it's just interesting to hear the difference when they talk about the competitive advantages. It's always cool. Well, maybe not cool, but it is cool. It's just cool to hear everybody's different opinions and what they think about that specifically. Because Jake said there is no competitive advantage. But then when you talk to Chris Bryant, because you know how media does, they line the players up one after one. The player that comes on next, they don't know what we just asked the player before. So it's basically the same routine. And you get 3 or 4 different answers, and it's always just cool to know who's kind of telling the truth, who's being front and center, and just the overall feeling of the ball club. But I do agree with you, Gabe. Winning cures all. So if these guys can continue at this pace, that's the
best vaccination. That's the best vaccination, right there.
The irony is that the city is reopening fully this weekend. The Cubs of Wrigley Field and the White Sox ballparks are opening up full 100%. Capacity. However, the team that we're watching is not 100% vaccinated. I think the irony of that is laughable to me, but such is life. We brought you on to talk about, you were talking a little bit about velocity as far as what the pitchings go. SI Sports Illustrated dropped a bombshell of a story over the weekend last week that detailed talking with the numerous relievers, NL pitchers, executives in Major League Baseball about the growing trend of baseballs that are being altered, or how can you say,
sticky stuff was the word used.
The sticky stuff.
Yeah.
Sticky stuff.
A combination of different products that go onto the pitcher's glove, uniform, inside the hat, anywhere and anywhere. The article kind of paints this as being an open secret that's always been sort of just acknowledged but never told. But now it feels like things are starting to change because of the historic lows with the batting averages, and that it's affecting the integrity of the game. I know that the White Sox in the article, their velocity is actually picked up about 4% from last year, second behind the Dodgers, Trevor Bauer, who's their pitchers. So obviously the Sox are obviously obviously we're not saying that they're doing or not doing anything, but they're kind of in this picture. But what are you seeing? And also as being a former pitcher yourself, what are you seeing as far as the game goes and where this may land us in?
Well, I mean, we all know that. What's the saying, Gabe? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And we've all been watching. We've all been baseball fans our entire lives. Cheating didn't just start. We can go back to Phil Necro and the Spitball. What's our Spitball guy? And just numerous guys, man. So when you talk
Goose Gossage, is that?
Come on, Goose. Just numerous guys. And when you talk about the stuff now, they call it the sticky stuff, but it's like a mix of like pine tar and pelican
sunscreen.
Come on, man. Any Vaseline, any type of substance. So my thing was, remember what happened a couple weeks ago with Joe West in that Cardinal Sox series. So it's interesting because if you notice, most relievers, when they come out of that bullpen, they have that same little mark
blip,
or those caps. So obviously there's something going on, bro. To me, it was a non-story. I understand. I'm glad Sports Illustrated put it out there for the people, for baseball fans who are basically
excellent article, by the way, and you can find it in the description if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but to me, it's obvious. And like you said, Trevor Bauer, I love Trevor Bauer. He said, "Man, you want to cheat? Cool. Watch me. Watch what I do. You want to see my spin rate go from 2,200 to 2,700? Watch me."
And that's crazy because, all right, so I'm a casual baseball fan. So reading this article was super enlightening to me on multiple respects. And that was the first one, was that you really could have that much of a significant difference on the revolutions from 2,200 to 2,700. If this was a science experiment, that's a significant statistic. Like, that's worth making a conclusion about. And then the second half of this story that I don't think enough people are talking about is that the MLB actually changed the ball this year to make it less offense, intentionally so.
What is it? 1% is 1% lighter now.
Yeah,
something like that to make it harder to hit or something to that effect.
It was supposed to be favorable for the hitters,
for the offense, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be favorable for the hitters, but even without this story, it was still a challenge for hitters.
Yeah, because when they're doctoring the ball up, it don't matter if you lighten it or whatever you do to it. If I'm able to doctor it more than it's already been doctored, because don't forget about the part of the article where they talk about it being, the mud factor before it even gets to the stage.
Right.
So it's already doctored. But when you talked about with me, Gabe, and it's like, well, I pitched, D1. So and I never even thought about this, but I loved coming out top of the first inning, the home team, and I get the new ball, that pearly white, fresh out of the box baseball. Now, obviously, that's not Major League Baseball, but I just love that pristine, beautiful baseball. So now that when I realize what's going on, it's we get this field access, and they have all these new balls. So when you look at the balls in the box, well, we just getting field access back now. But if I think back to previous years, and they had these boxes of balls, and you open the box and you look at these balls, and I'm like, something happened to these balls.
That's not a pearly white ball.
Not a pearly white ball. So now that they've given us the backstory on it, it makes sense. So it's already doctored up enough for the pitchers to be able to control it as much as they need.
I guess my question is, because I'm primarily a soccer fan, and soccer does this every year as well. When you talk to my dad, the ball that he played with growing up was leather. It absorbed the rain. It was horrible. It was heavy when it was wet. These days, they're waterproof. They're plastic. They fly through the air. They change it every year, but they seem to change it with a direction. They want to make it more flight, lighter, all that sort of stuff. Okay. It seems the MLB changes it, but they can't decide, which direction they're ultimately heading. Is it all we want to do is more offense, or is it all we want to do is less offense? And it seems they can't decide, so they go back and forth. And it sort of creates this gray area for the sticky stuff to occur.
So have you guys seen the latest article, the latest comments from Pete Alonso from the Mets?
Yes.
So there you go. And it's
for those who aren't aware, what did Peter say?
Yeah.
So Pete Alonso is basically saying Major League Baseball doctors the baseballs depending on which way they want to head. So now we know this year it's all about the free agent class. So it's like 5 or 6 shortstops who are going to Trevor Story, Javi, all these different guys who are headed for big bread, which goes back to your point, saying, okay, well, they doctored the balls and they made them lighter, a percent lighter, so these guys could hit the ball out of the park or whatever the case may be. Now, with launch angle, exit velocity, the way these guys have basically switched everything they've known coming up to the major leagues. Now, when you talk to a guy like Chris Bryant, whose dad was basically his hitting coach all his life, and he talks about, trying to hit the upper half of the baseball now with the added addition of, it's the and I'm one of those guys, I hate sabermetrics. I understand them. I understand why they're there, but I think sabermetrics for a guy like you say you're the casual baseball fan, I think that gets in the way of.
I don't even know what you're talking about. So,
So
yeah, Gabe, the Pete Alonso thing was more eye-opening to me than the Sports Illustrated story, because there needs to be more guys, like the Garrett Cole situation.
Right.
He's like, well, I don't know.
You know
Which
you
means,
did
yeah,
that shit. You
yeah,
know
I'm
you're winning now.
yeah, I'm cheating. Sorry, but so it's
Yeah.
interesting stuff, but it's nothing. This has been going on for 100 years, man.
There was a comment that said that there's between 80 and 90% of the pitchers are applying some sort of foreign substance.
I would agree.
But the interesting part of the article was how, I forget which batter it was. He was saying like now what his eyes are telling him to do is
He
not
swings where the ball is.
It was Charlie Blackmon.
Yeah. So he has to adjust the way he's thinking because the ball, because it's not where it's going where where it should go, but because of the velocity is changing the movement of the balls in such a freakish way, he has to predict that it's going to go somewhere else, but his brain is telling him to do something else. So it's just like this inner war that's happening, and I can't imagine how that shit must feel because you're looking at something that you've been seeing your entire life, and all of a sudden it's a lie. It's like
you're already taught to, because when you know it's the famous whoever came up, who was that, Meek Mill, that came up with levels, like that's become like the new thing is levels to this.
I'm like
okay, let's say
I just threw a name out, but I mean it is levels. So when you talk about playing college baseball, and again I played, we made it to the College World Series, so we played at the highest level of that. Now, still, that's not Major League Baseball, but even there, when you get to the league, then they teach you how to read the pitch out of the pitchers. So you have less than
like
a blink of an eye to make a decision whether you're going to swing or not. So that's number one. Number two, now you're just thinking about that. Now with the addition of me learning how to read the spin out of the ball, spin out of the pitcher's hand. If it's certain spin is breaking ball. If it's a certain spin is fastball. Anything else, you're on your own. So now you add what Charlie Blackmon is saying. Now everything I've learned up until now I have to completely shut that out of my mind, and now I have to guess where this ball is going to end up. Totally fucked up. Excuse my language, but now you see why you got guys hitting 240, 230. Yeah, and these are 300. These are career 300 hitters.
Right.
What about the one of the things that kind of struck me is that the hitters that they quoted in the piece are talking about pitchers, but some of their teammates are doing this for the betterment of the team.
Right.
Like, have you? I don't know if this has been brought up yet with the Chicago media bringing this to asking the Cubs or the Sox pitchers if they themselves are using any substances. But are you hearing anything? You don't have to name names, but are you hearing anything from like the hitters who are saying like this is out of control? We don't know how we're going to manage this.
Well, a lot of those guys, they like to stay, even keel. You got guys like KB and Rizzo. They'll basically just say, we're at the end of the day, it's level playing field. If some guy, like you said, 90% of these guys, I'm pretty sure are doing it. Right. But when I look at, when I just take the Cubs lineup, for example, and again, these are not high velo guys outside of Albert. Most of these guys, Kyle is 88, 89 at most. Davies 89 at most. Jake used to be 96, 97. Now he's 92, 93. Trevor Williams might top out at 91. So when you think about the velo and the spin, I mean, I really can't see Kyle Hendricks. I just don't think that's him. I think Kyle Hendricks is a straight up and down guy.
Right.
But when you think about it, no, it hasn't really been brought up, but I think now that we're getting 100% access back, and now you can talk directly to the players and not have to go through Zoom, because the Zoom is kind of weird. You don't really want to get that personal, because I really want my personal stuff. I don't want everybody to hear my personal conversation. So I feel like going forward, now that there's more access, you will get to hear more players talk about it. And I'm interested, since you said that, Gabe, I'm interested to hear what some of these guys have to say, because I know they're thinking the same thing that most of us are thinking, like, I'm wondering why. But I'm not wondering. I know, because somebody on our team, somebody on that Cubs team is doing it.
So go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying who I don't think I can pinpoint. I mean, I think Craig Kimbrell, when you look at him, I mean, this is a guy who was a Hall of Famer before he got to the Cubs. I think the reason kind of why he wasn't the guy that we thought he was going to be when he first came back, and you can take it for what it's worth, but this guy was sitting at the crib for a year. It's not like you can just get the call and then turn it right back on. So I think he needed time to ramp back up, and now he's becoming that guy that we knew him to be. But when you look at his stuff, man,
yeah.
you know.
So I have two questions before we got to let you go. One, in a couple sentences, why are pitchers such piss babies that they can't, just throw the ball straight up? Like, what? They're so just particular about things. And then in just like 2 sentences, how would you police the situation?
How would I police the situation?
Yeah.
I mean, well, obviously that's above my pay grade, but Major League Baseball, they have the means and the manpower to get this situation to hand. But I mean, at the end of the day, we all know what's been going on with baseball for the last few years is they're trying to appease they're trying to bring in a younger fan base, and the only way you do that is putting some runs on the board, adding some flair to the game. So I think they've done a good job in letting Fernando Tatis and Javi and those guys just kind of do them. You still got the old gatekeepers who want to keep baseball, at its core, but they've done a good job of that. But as far as the cheating, man, this is why I have all the love for Barry Bonds. Because it's obvious Barry Bonds was looking like Mr. Potato Head those 4 or 5 years. But hey, man, he's like, hey, bro, everybody around the league is doing it. So if y'all don't think I'm going to do it, because your paycheck is based on your performance. Right. So I think as far as the pitchers are concerned, it's the same thing. And then, a few of them talk about, we saw what happened to, what's the guy in New York, the Mets that got hit in the face a couple weeks ago. Kevin.
I know you're talking about, but I don't remember his name. Yeah.
But the guy said he basically couldn't feel the ball. He couldn't feel the grip on the ball, and he lost control. So a lot of the pitchers are saying, being able to add whatever substance they use is able to give them more command of the ball. So
right.
I mean, I think that's a bunch of boo-boo. But again, I'm not a Major League Baseball ace, so I really can't say. But 90% of them guys are cheating, bro.
Word.
Gene, man, thank you so much for joining us here to talk about this topic. I think it's something that's going to obviously keep up some more steam as baseball, as the article suggests, that they're evaluating these balls.
Real quick, Gene, before we let you go, do you think the onus on this will fall on the players, or will it fall on the MLB? Who do you think will get punished in the end?
Yeah, it's definitely going to fall on MLB because, like I said, this has been going on for who knows how many years, and it's.
I disagree 1,000%. It's easier to boo a player for cheating than the system that allows the cheating.
That's why the Houston Astros are like, yeah, boo me up, boo all you want. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Gene, thank you so much for joining us and spending time with us here on Weekend at Gabe's. Give Eugene McIntosh a follow at Stay Humble, also at It's the Bigs on Twitter and social media. They are everywhere. And I hope that you guys are going to be bringing shows to the city this summer. We'll talk about that as that progresses. So I look forward to seeing you guys. And also, please, for the love of God, please bring back Griselda because I missed him the last time.
No, I got you, brother. And anytime you need me, I'm a DM away, man. So just whenever you need me, hit me up. I appreciate you guys.
I got you, man. All right, enjoy the rest of your evening. All right.
All right, y'all too. Much love, man.
All right, Eugene McIntosh from It's the Bigs joining us here on Weekend at Gabe's. It's gonna be an ongoing conversation, especially leading into, if it sticks around, it's gonna lead into the All-Star break, which is also gonna make it another bigger story than it already is. So it's gonna be fascinating to see how this progresses.
Yeah, and huge thanks to Gene once again for offering his unique perspective. As a pitcher, he's got a little bit more understanding than at least me, the casual baseball fan, has. So I appreciate it.
Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe. Thanks for checking out this latest episode of Weekend at Gabe's. Click on any of the links swirling around my head and also hit the subscribe button while you're here. Thanks for checking out us here on YouTube.